Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. We have a great pregame pod episode for you. I am joined by my co-host, Michael Hall, and we're joined by a very special guest and fellow podcaster, host of the Washington Brawl podcast, Parker Hamlett. How you doing, sir?
Doing fantastic, man. Ready to talk some watch football with you guys, as always.
Yeah, and this is a big game. And before we get into our bold predictions, our predictions for MVP and the score, one of the things that was talked about on Friday was that Trent Williams was open to being back in the Ring of Fame. He said, if they're willing to take me, I'd love to be in there. So, Hall, let me start with you. We're Washington fans. We've been Washington fans for a long time. We both love Trent. But the way that it ended, it was kind of a bad divorce. Do you think that Trent deserves to be in the Ring of Fame?
Look, no matter how I felt about the situation whenever it went down, obviously Trent's been here for, a decade or something like that?
A little bit less.
Yeah, a little bit less than that. So I think, once the dust settles, which obviously the old regime is gone, so the dust is already kind of starting to settle. He already came out in multiple interviews this week and said that he doesn't have a grudge against anybody here. Like that old regime, that the people that he did have a grudge against are gone. He still has friends that he calls family and brothers on this team. So I think that eventually along the lines down the road that I think he will be, just because, we went from Chris Samuels to Trent Williams. We had two staple left tackles for all those years, almost a decade plus. So, yeah, I think he deserves it. And like I said, Trent's always been my guy. I was just salty about how everything went down.
Look, I'm not sure he does. And look, I'm a huge Trent mark. I have his jersey upstairs, and it's a terrible story to tell because for so many years I wanted a Trent Williams jersey, right? My mother-in-law for my birthday last year in 2019 got me a Trent Williams jersey. I took a picture of it. I put it on Twitter. Trent likes it. He liked the picture. And so I'm sitting here thinking, all these people are crazy. Trent's coming back that year. He doesn't come back. And I was kind of pissed about it in a selfish way because I was like, dude, I really wanted to rock your jersey. But in my opinion, I feel like the Ring of Fame should be designated for people that stayed here, gave it their all, and ended in a right way. Like one in particular is London Fletcher. Obviously, he did not start his career here, but the dude came here, was a baller at the middle linebacker position, got Pro Bowls for the first time, and it ended in a good way. It was he still does work for the Washington football team doing the post-game shows. So, I feel like situations like that is where the Ring of Fame should be, because it should be a very, very small group getting in. It's the ones, the diehards, you know what I mean? And obviously, this is a business. Things happen, but that's why I feel like the cream of the crop should be the ones in the Ring of Fame. I love Trent. He gave everything that he could to this organization. Obviously, it fizzled out because of the cancer diagnosis, and I just don't think that him getting rid of Bruce should be a reason, or even talked about a reason why he's in the Ring of Fame. That has nothing to do with the situation. Bruce should not even been here, in my opinion. What about you, Parker?
I think you hit the nail on the head. This should be the Ring of Fame should be for players, coaches, and people that are part of this organization that were Washington football team for life. And I don't think it should be, if Trent Williams were to go this year, and which is not going to happen, and win a championship with the San Francisco 49ers like he had planned.
Right.
I don't think it should be, oh, yeah, that guy played for the Washington football team. I think it should be for the people that embodied Washington football, a lot like the London Fletchers. I stopped keeping score with the Trent Williams things a long time ago. You go back and listen. I was extremely bitter about it. I didn't get a jersey a lot like yourself, so I'm sure that made it hurt a lot more. But, I personally don't think Trent Williams deserves to be in the Ring of Fame. That's just my opinion. I have nothing against Trent. I wish him nothing but the best. I understand the business mentality of wanting to go somewhere else and win a championship after you've, played your ass off for a decade plus. But, at the end of the day, he had an opportunity to stay with this organization. No matter how you want to look at it, he just near the home stretch, it was just excuse after excuse after excuse. And, he comes out last week and says, well, there was a shed of light. There was a chance that, he basically said that he saw the light and, he could see a situation where he could stay with the organization, but he didn't. At the end of the day, he's not a member of Washington football anymore. I have no bad blood toward Trent. I know you guys don't have any bad blood towards Trent. He was a staple of our franchise for, may not have been a decade, but damn close to a decade. But at the end of the day, that should be specifically for people who were Washington football. And I think that at least that should stay sacred.
Yeah, look, in my opinion, like I know that I'm just some dude that does a fan that just records a podcast. I get it. But in my opinion, Morgan Moses deserves it over Trent Williams. The dude has literally been just chastised and attacked by the fan base for being bad all these years while playing through injuries, playing on one bat with no knees basically all this time. And look, he took this opportunity not to say, let me get out of this bad situation. In this offseason, we interviewed him, and he was working hard to prove for this organization that he wanted to stay here. That's somebody that I think embodies the whole Ring of Fame aspect, and that he deserves it over Trent. And that's just my personal opinion. So, look, I know, like you said, I have no ill will towards Trent. I wish him the best of luck. I hope he does get what he wants. I just hope the Washington football team gets it before him.
I'm really glad you brought up Morgan Moses, though, because a guy like Trent does teach a lot of stuff to a guy like Morgan Moses. They are still very close friends, as very well documented.
Absolutely.
Do you think that affects his relationship with the team in the future? You know, him knowing a lot of these guys in the locker room. I feel like that is a factor in this.
And that's a great point, because that was actually going to be my rebuttal to this. Is your great point right there was, look how Trent affected the guys in the locker room. He made guys like Morgan Moses into like the great leaders and captains they were, because they were following him and his lead throughout the years. And secondly, it's like clearly not the same thing, because Ryan Kerrigan is Mr. Washington football.
Right.
But say Washington says, hey, we want you to take a pay cut and come back next year. And he's like, well, I want to go win a championship somewhere else. He's moved on to another organization. So should he get back in the Ring of Fame? He hasn't been here his whole career.
Well, that's
my only rebuttal to it.
But that's
great point.
That's a great way, and that's a good divorce. With Trent, it was, we want to talk to you. Yeah, we want you in the building, and him kind of saying, nah, I don't want any business doing with that.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why it's like a little bit different situation, because
but that's a great point by you.
A little bit altered, but
That's a great point by you. Absolutely. I'm not going to argue that, Hall. You're absolutely right, because I would love to hear what the players aspect of it is, because to your point, Morgan did take a leadership role this season of the offensive line, and it did prove to be a huge point of emphasis and something that the team needed. Now let's get some injury updates for today. Good news for the Washington football team. Brandon Sheriff and, speaking of, Morgan Moses will play today after they were questionable all week. Now, the Washington football team called up Javon Leak from the practice squad because Antonio Gibson will not be playing today due to turf toe. How confident are you, Parker, that the offense will be able to move the ball downfield without Antonio Gibson today?
Well, I feel like you just got to follow that blueprint of the Steelers game. They lose Antonio Gibson early due to that turf toe you were speaking of. And guys like Peyton Barber, he may only get you those 2 or 3 yards, but he gets them every single time. He gets them when you need them. Like I said, his numbers aren't anything to write home about, but as your power back, Peyton Barber is that guy who can get you those goal line carries. I feel like J.D. McKissick stepped up really well. He's known mainly as a pass catcher. He may not be built, to go 10 games as a lead back for the Washington football team. Right. But I feel like just these last 3 or 4 games, getting him an open field, getting him some play action, getting him involved in different ways of this offense, like Scott's done really well over the last couple weeks. It'll benefit the Washington football team. I feel like it's a good plug and play for right now, because, I had Julie Donaldson on the show this week, and I talked to her about how it's very vital that you have Antonio Gibson in the long haul. I know that, you defeated the Pittsburgh Steelers without Antonio Gibson, but at the end of the day, he's the best rookie running back in the National Football League. There's no debating that anymore. He is a Swiss Army knife. He's exactly as he was advertised, and this coaching staff finally is in a rhythm with Antonio Gibson. It is a loss long term, but in the short term, you're playing against the 5-7 San Francisco 49ers. I don't feel like you should risk Antonio Gibson's long-term health, for this one game against a very beatable San Francisco 49ers team, despite what you're hearing from the national media, who still refuses to pick us. Which that's how I want it.
Exactly.
That's how I like it.
Exactly
that's how they do. It. Yeah, that's how they do their best. So Hull and I have joked all over the years, all throughout these tumultuous times, that the Washington football team wins games they're not supposed to win, and they lose games that they are supposed to win. So I love the aspect of them constantly being underdogs, because it pisses the team off. It gives them the poster board material. As soon as everyone starts kissing their ass, you're kind of worried about the motivation there. So I love this kind of extra added motivation they're giving to Ron Rivera and this coaching staff and this team, because they need it, to be perfectly honest. They need that kick in the butt to say, look, you're not all that good, but you are playing incredibly well. And if you do play well, you can beat anybody in this league. And they showed that on Monday night, and I wholeheartedly believe that will be the case today. Now, I'll say my confidence level is like a 5. because Antonio Gibson, let's just call Antonio Gibson 100%. Let's just say 100%. Peyton Barber is the 50% of the short yardage situations, of taking care of the football, his pass blocking, being able to get the short yardage situations. And J.D. McKissic is the other 50% of Antonio Gibson, of catching the ball in the backfield, using that agility, that speed to be able to get extra yardage. So I am fairly confident that they'll be able to replicate the production. The question is, will Javon Leak be able to be one of those bullets in the chamber that they just change over? Will he be a blank, or will he actually be a good bullet for them today? And I think that is the huge question. Hall, you were the one person that was ecstatic over the Antonio Gibson pick back in April. You talked me and Reed off the ledge because we were like, who is this guy? What is he doing? And you loved him. What, in your opinion, what is your confidence level with this team without Antonio Gibson today?
I'm probably around the same as you, maybe like a 5, maybe 6, just because, like you said, McKissic kind of the combination of McKissic and Barber can kind of be what Gibson embodies, which is the power back, and Peyton Barber and the agility, kind of catch out the backfield, use them in the passing game. As J.D. McKissic, obviously J.D. McKissic is a great third down running back. He can catch out the backfield. He's a great pass blocker. He can pick up linebackers, blitz and safeties on the opposing side of the formation. So I definitely think that they can sustain without him. And I think that Javon Leak is going to be big in the special teams today. Ooh. He was a huge return guy at University of Maryland, put up great numbers, great stats. And I think that if they can get him going in the return game, if the defense can get some stops, maybe get some chances in punt return, I think that's the way he'll be able to affect the game today.
Yeah, and the one thing is last week they did not run the ball incredibly well against the Steelers. Now, J.D. McKissic's short yardage passing acts as a run in a way. You know, with that in rhythm throw that Alex checks it down to J.D. McKissic, he's able to get 5 to 6 yards. It's doing incredibly well. My biggest issue with all of that is when our defense is going to start keying in on that. And could that possibly lead to a pick six? Could that possibly lead to a turnover, somebody getting blown up and injured? And that's the one issue that I'm worried about. But I said it on Thursday. I'm not going to be in the business of sitting here underrating and expecting Alex Smith not to do something. I'm out of that business. The dude continues to blow out and do well. I mean, I can't tell you how surprised I am that he was able to not only beat the Pittsburgh Steelers, but he was able to do it by pushing the ball downfield.
Yeah.
I was blown away by that aspect. A lot of credit to Scott Turner. Do you think Scott Turner has turned the corner, Parker? Do you think that he is really starting to show himself as one of the better offensive coordinators in the league?
I mean, absolutely. You know, I've come on your show and ripped Scott Turner in half. And, you know, Wale said it's time for both sides to start eating their crow. You know, all the negative things that a lot of people are spilling early throughout the year. It's finally time for us to eat our crow and a lot of that stuff. And I'll definitely eat my crow on Scott Turner. I do think a lot of this is attributed to Alex Smith being under center. Mm-hmm. You know, getting the ball out of his hands quickly, making smart, savvy, veteran decisions, you know, with the football. I feel like that tailors this offense better than anything. I think Scott and Alex go hand in hand. It's a perfect marriage, and there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not playing a blame game. I'm not trying to say, well, it wouldn't happen without this or it wouldn't happen without that. I'm just glad it's working. Right, I'm not worried about keeping score, you know. I do think not having a guy like Antonio Gibson in the backfield for a long span of time is going to hurt the team. I heard somebody talking this week. They compared him a lot to Arian Foster. And you know, I'm starting to see that pro comp more and more. You know, I'm glad Hall hit the nail on the head on that. I was definitely one of those Antonio Gibson doubters early in the offseason. I don't think you can replicate what Antonio Gibson's doing. And a lot like you, Kyle, I agree 100%. I am worried that once you start playing against these better football teams without Antonio Gibson, and a lot of this stuff that's very scripted can end up turning into turnovers because defense is just going to start anticipating it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah. To answer your question, I am very impressed with Scott Turner over the last 5 or 6 games. He's done a fantastic job.
Yeah, what about you, Hall? Do you think that Scott Turner has turned the corner, that he could be one of the up-and-coming offensive coordinators that could possibly be working himself into a job in the near future?
Yeah, definitely. I think that with no OTAs, no offseason, you couldn't really – obviously, you could do like virtually implementing the offense, but
3 different quarterbacks too.
Exactly, 3 different quarterbacks. So I feel like he's finally getting the rhythm with the team, with the offense. He's kind of like feeling out like, okay, this guy's good at this, this guy's good at that, this guy runs this route the best. So like he's getting his guys in the best positions to win. And I mean, like I said, I was one of the guys, like everyone else, I was ripping him at the beginning of the season. I knew he was a new guy, and like I said, I knew there was no offseason, but we were sold a bag of this is what the offense is going to look like. And like Parker said, maybe it has to do with Alex Smith, where He's got a guy that knows the system, a veteran guy, a savvy guy, make quick decisions, get the ball out quick, which is what this offense is all about. So I definitely think that he's turned the corner, and I can't wait to see what he does in 2021 when we can get some more weapons in here. Someone to go opposite Terry, maybe another tight end opposite Logan Thomas. So I'm definitely liking the upside of Scott.
Yeah, and so let's switch this over to the other side. Kyle Shanahan is the offensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers. I have been on record for saying back in 2013, 2014 that Kyle Shanahan is an offensive-minded genius. The way that he can design plays, we saw it with Pierre Garçon. The way that he designs plays, it makes everything so easy on them that they don't have to run crazy amount of routes, where they can just run that quick 5-yard in or slant route and they're wide open just because of the play calling of Kyle Shanahan. Parker, how much does Nick Mullins concern you? Do you think that Kyle Shanahan kind of elevates Mullins, and is it someone that could be a huge point of emphasis for the defense today?
Personally, I think Nick Mullins has played well in a lot of bad situations throughout his career with the San Francisco 49ers when Jimmy Garoppolo has not been on the field. With that being said, he is not a franchise quarterback. He is not a playmaker. He is someone that can come in and kind of keep the offense going, keep their heads above water, so to speak. And, you talk about Kyle Shanahan, who, by the way, you remind me a lot of. Kyle Shanahan relies a lot on his playmakers. He takes out all those middle steps. He basically with Deebo Samuel, it's, just be Deebo Samuel. Get the ball in your hands and make plays. It's as simple as that. This is a very plug and play offense he runs over in San Francisco. And, to credit to him, it's fantastic. He's one of the best coaching minds in the National Football League. I know a lot of people feel some type of way about the Shanahans, but I've always respect Kyle and his body of work, no matter how much he chokes in big games.
Absolutely.
But Nick Mullins, to me, he's the biggest factor in this game today. I really don't think he's going to be able to handle this pass rush. And I don't mean to sound arrogant when I say that. I'm not trying to put himself on a pedestal, hype things up too much. But I think that Montez Sweat, Chase Young, Deron Payne, Tim Settle, you name it, enter a first-round draft pick, they are going to get a Nick Mullins face today. They're going to disrupt a lot of the script. And I feel like it's going to be too much for Nick Mullins to handle. I mean, sometimes it was too much for Jimmy Garoppolo to handle. Yeah. I mean, credit to Nick Mullins. He plays well, when his number's called occasionally, but I don't fear Nick Mullins. And I'll go on record and say that.
Parker putting on his genie hat, because that was going to be our next segment there. That's a great point by you, Parker. Now, Hall, what is with Mullins? Do you think that Kyle Shanahan can get the most out of Mullins to the point where they can defeat the team today?
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, you've seen Kyle Shanahan get the most out of guys like Rex Grossman over the years, Matt Schaub over the years. So John Beck, exactly. RG3 at his rookie year. So I definitely think that he's been kind of getting the most out of Nick Mullins, even going back to last year when he stepped in for Jimmy G last year.
Yeah,
he was getting the most out of him.
He was the third quarterback on the roster, and he was putting up points.
Exactly. So I definitely think that he's going to, like Parker said, he's the X factor. If this pass rush up the middle can kind of get in his face, get some hands up, if Montez Swat, as Reed coined him, can get a couple of swatted balls down, I think that it'll disrupt him, get him off his mark a little bit. And I think that defense can definitely ruin his day. But like you said, Kyle Shanahan's a smart dude. He loves to scheme the guys up. He's one of the best to do it. So I definitely think that Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuels and Nick Mullins, that trio with Mostert in the backfield, obviously running that play action fake, that play action game that Kyle Shanahan loves so much, can definitely be a factor today. But I think the defense, if they can get pressure, I think they can disrupt him a little bit and throw him off his mark.
Yeah, so that was going to be the next segment, is what I've always asked this. We asked it on Thursday, but obviously it got destroyed. But what is one area or facet of the game that the Washington football team has to dominate in order to put themselves in a position to win the game, Hall?
I think you got to limit Raheem Mostert. In this, the 5 games that we won this year, we've held the running back to under 100 yards rushing. Obviously, everything with this San Francisco offense is based off of that zone run, the stretch run, the play action. So that opens up everything for this offense. So if they can bolster Raheem Mostert. I had to think about the word for a second. If they can stop him and put him, keep him at under 100 yards, keep him from the big plays and explosive plays in the running game, I think that we have a great shot.
Yeah, and that was my point, is that stopping the run game. That has to be the point of emphasis for this defense today, because Kyle Shanahan's offense really does well when it has the ability to use play action. Everyone knows Jimmy G is not that good of a passer. neither is Nick Mullins. He's not Pat Mahomes. He's not Aaron Rodgers. He can't drop back for 40 times a game and just sling it all day long and throw for 300, 400 yards. They need play action to execute. If you can stop that run and make sure that Nick Mullins is the one that has to beat you, that is the recipe for success, in my opinion, for the Washington football team. What about you, Parker?
I think that while I respect Kyle Shanahan as a football mind, I think it does a great job with his personnel. You know, you bring up Raheem Mostert, who's played a bunch of great games this year. You got Jordan Reed, you got Brandon Ayuk. You know, you've got weapons. But at the end of the day, guys, I think it's safe to say this 49ers offense is a gimmick. And if you get disruption, if Montez does what he's been doing all year and blowing people up while they're trying to do play action in the backfield, if you get any form of disruption and ad-lib and go off script, this offense falters. I mean, this is really only a team that has looked well against the Rams, an in-division opponent. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not saying that they don't have weapons. Brandon Ayuk's really coming to his own. Deebo Samuel, you know, probably the best flex fantasy play in the National Football League right now. I've got him in all my leagues.
Yes, sir.
You know, they have weapons across the board, but your general is not a Patrick Mahomes. He's not an Aaron Rodgers. He's not a guy that can do what Alex Smith did against the Pittsburgh Steelers and go 5 wide and beat you with his arm. That's not Nick Mullins.
Yeah.
Right.
If Nick Mullins can't be Nick Mullins today, then it's going to be a long day for Nick Mullins and a long day for the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, my next question was going to be, this is a possibility for the Washington football team to win 4 straight. I talked about it last week before the Steelers game. Them winning 2 straight is rare. Them winning 3 straight in a row is even more rare. But winning 4 straight in a row,
It's unheard of.
rare ever happens. But when it does, it's generally on a season of destiny. So, Parker, let me bounce this off of you. Do you think that they are in the position to win the football game today and win 4 straight?
I think this is the moment, man. You know, I went on Washington Football Today with Julie on NBCS Washington, and you know, she asked a great question, and Washington actually dropped a video of it last night. Why not us? I mean, I don't even think this is arrogance. I think that I'm just speaking strictly football when I say that the Washington football team is the best poised team in the NFC East to make a run in the playoffs. You know, Chris Cooley said that this week. You know, this team is built to win playoff games. You have a top 3 defense, phenomenal on the back end with Darby, Everett, Cam Curl coming into his own. You know, we don't even have to talk about the pass rush. I feel like we spend enough minutes a week talking about them. But this offense is taking care of the ball. You have a running back for every role. You get Antonio Gibson back fully healthy. You got guys trying to take Terry McLaurin out of the game completely, and that does nothing but benefit everybody else around him. You got guys like Logan Thomas who are coming to their own ever since he's been lined up in the slot. Credit to Scott Turner. He's been absolutely killing it. Everything is clicking, and it's clicking at the right time. And I don't think it's crazy to say that this Washington football team is starting to feel like a team of destiny. And I don't know about you guys, but, you know, the last time Washington football team was a team of destiny, they won, 6-7 straight in 2012? And who did we play the first round? The Seattle Seahawks. Yep. And I think we might be in pace for a reunion with the Seattle Seahawks in the first round of the playoffs. And I'm all for that. I'm all for that.
Yeah, look, man, you guys know, if you follow my Twitter account, you know that I love posting like motivational videos and all that stuff. I listen to it all day long at work and stuff. And the one quote was from Will Smith, I believe, from one of the movies, and that he who believes that he can is the same as the person who believes that he can't. He who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right. And if the Washington football team is going into this game thinking and knowing that they can win 4 straight, I think they can get it done. It all comes down to themselves. And for me, you know, Ron Rivera posting and having a PowerPoint ready for the team on humility heading into this game is the perfect kind of aspect you want from a head coach, because he understands this is a young football team. Coming off a big win on Monday night primetime, beating an 11-0 Steelers team, you know, you can get kind of full of yourself. You can get overconfident and kind of mitigate and kind of undervalue what the 49ers are. And Ron Rivera understanding that, having a PowerPoint ready for the team, I feel incredibly good about it. So that being said, Hall, do you believe that they're in position to win 4 straight?
Yeah, I've been saying it since a couple episodes of the pod back that like this is giving me real like 2012 vibes. Like, I mean, the games that we've lost going back to that first Giants game, the 3 games that we lost, both Giants games and the Lions games, those teams did not beat us. We beat ourselves. This is a team that, if they don't beat themselves, they're in the game with any and every team in the NFL for the most part, like outside of like the Chiefs and the Packers, like teams with explosive offenses like that. But With that being said, I think that this is definitely like a team on a crash course for a division title. I think that the Junkies posed this question like on the last Thursday, and they were saying, "Do you think that they can go 3-1 in this like next these last 4 games?" And I was like, "Hell yeah!" Like, I think that we can split these 2 NFC West games. I think that Week 17, Philadelphia, whether it's Carson Wentz, Jalen Hurts, I think those guys are already going to be out of the race. Obviously,
Yeah.
they're just looking at that like, look, this is hurry up and get out of here. I already got my plane ticket down to Florida. I'm just trying to get out of here, start my off season.
Howie Roseman wants that high draft pick.
Exactly. I think that's going to be a dub. And I think the swing game, it's crazy enough, is going to be the Carolina Ron Rivera revenge game. I think that's the game that's going to be the asterisk, the swing game would be like, if we get that dub, that pushes into the playoffs. So I definitely think that we're on a collision course, like he said, rematch against Seattle. And I would love to have that rematch back with Seattle and Russell Wilson.
To Kyle's point, why do we have to split that NFC West matchup? I mean, look, I don't know if you guys watched that New York Giants Seattle Seahawks game, but Colt McCoy was under center, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, we're going to have the same game plan as the Giants, which is run the football. Don't throw the ball too much because, you want to control the time of possession. You want to control the clock. I feel like that recipe that the New York Giants had is something that the NFL needs to kind of just look at and be like, okay, so that's how you beat this team. You get pressure on Russell Wilson, you run the ball, you control the clock. And I think that we do that better than the New York Giants. It's a shame that we got swept by them. We pretty much beat ourselves in one of those games, but we can't control that now. I think that this game, I don't really foresee the Washington football team losing another game. I really don't. I think that we're going to go into Seattle, and people don't want to bring this up, but we've had Seattle's number in recent years. That's another point. We went in there with Kirk Cousins, beat them. I know this is a different team, pretty much different organization, but we have the blueprint to defeat Seattle.
We do. The only issue is the deep ball, right? But before we get into Seattle, it was really funny. So yesterday I went to Mount Vernon with the family, and we were having dinner at the Mount Vernon Inn. And Katie's my wife's stepdad is a Steelers fan, and so is her younger brother, my brother-in-law. And we're sitting there having lunch, and he says, yeah, we beat ourselves. It's like, what? I said, no, you didn't. I was like, Washington won that game. He's like, no, we had drop passes. I was like, yeah, but that has nothing to do with your defense getting destroyed. Oh, we didn't have linebackers. Oh, well, that blah, blah, blah. I was like, come on, man. Out of all respect, I do not want to argue and sit here with you and have to say this to you while your kids are at the table. Please, let's stop talking right now. But you're absolutely right about that. Now, let's get into some bold predictions for this game, fellas, and that being one in particular from Tyler Pitt, the 301 Pitbull on Twitter. He said Daron Payne and Settle will combine for 3 sacks today, also a fumble recovery from the secondary. How likely is that going to happen?
I can see that. Completely.
Yeah, I think the first one is like more likely is Daron Payne and Tim Settle combined for 3 sacks. Because like I said, I think that the key to this game defensive-wise is going to be the pass rush up the middle. If Daron Payne, John Allen, Tim Settle, and those boys can get up in his face, I think there's going to be a hellacious day for Nick Mullins today.
Yeah, and look, I think it's in play. I definitely do. Because this offensive line for the 49ers is very good. The only question I have is Kyle Shanahan going to adopt the game plan from these other teams? We're getting the ball out quick, throwing it quick, because generally they don't like doing that. They like to be able to have the play action, let the play build up, and then find the outlet. This is a really good matchup, and if they do not adjust their game plan at all, Tyler, I think you're absolutely right. I think that could 100% be in there. Now, with another one that I have to come back here and find it, is our boy Jesse. Always just has the best stuff whenever I ask for it.
He's the best.
His bold predictions for today. Terry McLaurin, the captain, goes off for 7 receptions, 148 yards, and 2 touchdowns, Parker.
God.
What do you think?
Hey, man, Richard Sherman should be playing safety nowadays. I don't see any reason why he shouldn't demolish that secondary, especially coming off of 2 receptions for 14 yards. He's going to be eager. He's going to be eager to get the ball, and I think Scott Turner's going to be eager to get it to him. Now, something that I want to point out, you got a lot of people talking about Chase Young on Trent Williams. While, that makes me lick my chops. I'm excited for that. Let's be realistic here. Isn't Chase Young going to be lined up across from Mike McGlinchey?
Yeah.
McGlinchey, yeah.
McGlinchey, sorry. I mean, his play's so poor, I don't really remember his name. I know this offensive line across the board is not too shabby, but
Right.
Mike's been a little bit of a bust, and Chase so far has not been a bust. So
Not at all.
I see Mike having a rough day. I really do. I really do.
And when you go and look at Trent, and I'll never forget this, as much as I used to like Junior Gillette a lot, but now that I've seen his recent Twitter stuff, I'm not a big fan anymore. But
Kyle was the biggest Junior Gillette fan.
I was until I saw some ridiculous stuff. But he posted a clip of practice of him beating Trent. And when he beat Trent, it was with speed around the edge. And I'll tell you right now, I have not seen anybody beat Trent in a game with speed around the edge. Anytime that he's been beat, it's been with technique. It's been getting on the inside, just getting him off kilter, right? That's what I'm worried about today, because we don't really have with Chase Young the speed that much to be able to get around the edge. But what you can do is the strength. And that's where I think Montez Sweat's length really is a huge disadvantage for Trent Williams. And I think that he needs to continue with what Reed has been calling him a Montez Swat. If they're getting the ball out quick, get those hands up, dude. Swat that pass down 150%. Now, with going to Jesse's prediction for Terry with 7 receptions for 148 yards, 2 touchdowns, I don't believe that is going to be the case, because we've seen with all of these wins this season, there's a recipe to the success, and that is Alex Smith throwing for less than 200 yards, not having a bunch of touchdowns, and then running the ball very, very well. So I don't think that Terry's going to go crazy like that today. I certainly hope so, because if that happens, this is probably like a 50-0 game. Now his next one was Alex Smith throws for 360 and 3 touchdowns, Hall.
Sheesh, that's a little bit too much. Like you said, the recipe lately, even though he went for almost 300 yards against the Steelers, I think the recipe for this team is to have Alex under between the 20 to 23 pass range.
Yeah.
Him throw for like a $180 to like 2. Yeah, I think it's going to be tough for Alex Smith to get the 360 range. I think that, like you said, Kyle, the recipe for this team winning is to have Alex Smith around even though he did do it against the Steelers, he's done it against the Giants, put up pretty big numbers passing wise. But I think that it's around like 20 to maybe 22, 23 attempts for Alex Smith, definitely around no more than 25 attempts for Alex Smith. And for him passing for about 180 to around the 220, 230 range, I think that's right in the ballpark for Washington. They want to be able to control the clock, have the quick passing game, have the guys like Terry McLaurin, McKissick, Logan Thomas, and those boys get the ball quick, get open space, yak after the catch and stuff like that. So I definitely think that 360 and 3 touchdowns, although I will say 3 touchdowns could be possible, because go back to 2018, whenever Alex Smith, his first start for Washington, we played the Arizona Cardinals in Arizona, and he put up – did he throw for – no, we put up 4 touchdowns total that game.
Mm-hmm.
So, 3 touchdowns out of the question. It's not happening.
Yeah. And now the one bold prediction for him that I actually think is a very good possibility was that Chase Young has 2 sacks. And going to your point, Parker, about Mike lining up on Mike McGlinchey, I think Chase Young has a sack day. And I talked about it a couple episodes in my letters to Santa. By Christmas, I wanted Chase Young to have 10 sacks on the season. I hope that gets started today, and I think, Jesse, you're right with your bold prediction that Chase Young could have 2 sacks today at least. I think he's going to eat. I absolutely love Chase Young. He's my spirit animal. I love the way he gets hyped up for these games, because he's just like me. I would be getting, just turning into a monster, a beast, without a doubt. What about you, Parker? Do you think that's in the realm of possibility for Chase Young?
I think he's going to have a fantastic day. I think Mike has been the epitome of an underachiever at right tackle. They're talking about kicking this dude into guard, so that kind of tells you everything you need to know about Mike McGlinchey. However you say his name, don't really care. But this does open the door on a conversation that I got to have with you guys. You said on your Santa wish list you wanted Chase Young to have 10 sacks, right? I think that within the month of November going into December, you got a lot of people talking about Jeremy Chin possibly being Defensive Rookie of the Year. Can we all agree that Chase Young's sack numbers are not his complete and total value as a player in the National Football League? You're talking about his, him being an emotional leader. I don't know about you guys, but when I'm watching Washington football games this year, it's nice to see everybody else finally seeing how good Chase Young is, but I feel like I'm learning more and more every game just about wherever the ball is, he's right there. You know, his value is so much more than sack total. So I just wanted to get you guys' overall thoughts on that.
Yeah, we actually talked about this on Thursday because Washington Rundown asked us this question and said, you know, what is Chase's impact really on this team? And it's unmeasurable is the word that I used, because what is the one weakness for this defense? It's the deep playability, right? Well, Chase Young's presence forces the offense to throw quick throws, to throw it at the closer line of scrimmage, actually going against what their weakness is. And then on top of that, he's commanding double, triple teams, allowing Deron Payne, allowing Jonathan Allen and Montez Sweat to have one-on-ones. So there's so many different avenues that Chase Young affects the team, because whenever that quarterback is lining up back there, he's got the running back next to him, the first thing he's doing is he's looking at 99. He's seeing who's over there with 99, and if he needs to switch the protection over there, whatever have you. The impact, I know with fans, it's hard to kind of gauge really how much it goes into the game of football with kind of going in and having a game plan set up for somebody. And when you play the game of football and when you go against somebody of this caliber, you know how much attention coaches really do pay attention to these type of guys. And they're like, dude, we have to make sure we know exactly where he is. If we one time just don't see where he's at, that can be the difference in the game. And we saw that on Monday night when Montez Sweat's swat and the interception. So what about you, Hall? What do you think Chase's impact is on this team?
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head that it's unmeasurable. I mean, all you got to do is look up Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne's numbers this year. They're having career years. That is because of Chase Young. You could look at a guy like Montez Sweat, although towards the back half of the last season, he was coming on. He was playing the run very well. He was starting to getting pressure on the quarterback, get a lot of pass rushes. Obviously, with him getting Chase Young on the opposite side of him, that opens him up one-on-one now. When you have a mediocre linebacking core outside of maybe Cole Holcomb, that opens up the linebackers to get run free, be able to scrape off the line, make solo tackles, gang tackles like that. And the biggest one of all is, like you said, this pass defense. Over the years, this pass defense has been horrible, to say the least. Chase Young, with him, like you said, they having to double team him, chip him, triple team him, always put attention on Chase Young. That makes the quarterback kind of uneasy in the pocket, makes him have to get off his mark a lot, makes him get the ball out quick. Like you said, no more really deep, big plays down the field because you can't be back there for 2-3 seconds, or else you're going to have Chase Young or one of those guys that are running free on the one-on-ones like Montez Sweat or Deron Payne. Sorry. But definitely I think that overall the defense has been impacted. Like I said, off the field, his energy before games, he's hyped up, he's jumping around. He's just bringing a bunch of energy to this team.
Yep.
Cam Sims, one-handed catch. You can see him in the background. He's the first one on the sideline running down there, hyping up Cam Sims, patting him on his back, hyping him up and stuff like that. Yep. So he's just a firecracker.
Yeah, and that was Maddie's point from Thursday, was like kind of the emotional impact of Chase Young. And it brings me back to his one quote, and that was when he was going and trying to figure out where he was going to go to college, where he was going to go play. And he had the choice between Alabama. He had obviously had a choice to go anywhere. And the reason why he chose Ohio State, because it had more of a family atmosphere around the team. It wasn't like more like professional. It was a family type of aspect. And that's what Chase Young brings to the Washington football team. If he understands that kind of mindset, he understands how much it really can help a team win football games. So I think the impact is unmeasurable, to say the least. Now let's get into something I think is, we've talked about Alex Smith winning Comeback Player of the Year. Obviously, that is done now. It's over. He won it. But the next question comes up, and I've been talking about it for a couple weeks now. Not a lot of people believe me, but I think Ron Rivera could very well win Coach of the Year. So let me ask you, Parker, if Coach hasn't deserved it yet, what needs to be done for him to get the award?
Division title, simple as that. If you want to win Coach of the Year, not that Ron Rivera has not had almost like a Hollywood level type of offseason/season. I mean, you know, he's battling cancer, all the offseason woes. Your Alex Smith comes back from, you know, what should have been a career-ending injury. Right. You know, you start off with the, you know, catastrophic record, and now you've climbed to this point where we're talking about the playoffs at a point where we did not think we would be talking about the playoffs. You obviously have a very strong argument for Ron Rivera as Coach of the Year already, but the cherry on top is NFC East champions.
Mm.
That is the cherry on top, and not Super Bowl. Because I mean, obviously, I don't think any of us think that that's a possibility yet. But I think for Ron Rivera to be in the Coach of the Year talks, which he should already be in, of course, you have to win this division. You just have to. It just really solidifies everything that Ron has said up to this point. It shows how strong his word really is, his pedigree, and just how quick of a turnaround he's had, or he's created in just 1 year as head coach. So to me, I think he does have a strong resume to be in the conversation, but I think the final blow is going to be winning the division, of course.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. In my personal opinion, I think the guy has already earned it. Not because of anything having to do with on the field, but having to come to this organization, having to essentially be a general manager, then having to go through the name change, the sexual assault allegations, and then going into the season, having to deal with cancer. The guy was able to keep his team focused during all of this, during coronavirus, all of this nonsense, and so now they're actually playing better and doing what he said they were going to do in early in the season. They were going to get better throughout the season, and he's absolutely right. I think he's already deserved it. I think the NFL kind of understands the kind of Cinderella aspect. They love the Hollywoodness of these types of things where they can make the ESPN skits. In my opinion, he's already earned it. In my personal opinion, I'm so happy that Dan Snyder actually made the best decision of his life, and that wasn't purchasing the Washington football team. That was hiring Ron Rivera as his head coach. What about you, Hall?
Yeah, I definitely think he should be in the mix, definitely in the talking for it. I definitely think that if there was like a top 5 coaches that deserved it, he would be like number 4, number 5-ish right now. I definitely think that if he can get this team to 8-8, dare I say 9-7, and also win this division, host a playoff game, I think that'll definitely boost him up with definitely a couple of another spots. But when you got guys like Kevin Stefanski, who have completely turned the Browns around to 9-3, probably going to get them into the playoffs at a wild card seed. You got guys obviously like Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes.
Joe Judge.
You got guys like Joe Judge.
They could be the first ever 2-7 team to win a division.
Exactly,
I mean, that's history right there, and that is a quick turnaround for them with an absolute dumpster fire.
You want to throw Brian Flores in there too as well. I mean, what he's done with the Dolphins this year has been amazing as well.
Tomlin.
But Tomlin as well, having them guys 11-0, falling to us, of course. I definitely think that he's in the mix. Like I said, the number 4, number 5 slot right now. Getting the team to 8-8, 9-7 would be a huge boost for him to win it. But I just think that depending on how the Browns finish out, depending on how the Dolphins finish out, I think I'm going to go to one of those two guys, and Brian Flores or Kevin Stefanski. But if we can get to 9-7, it's definitely in the mix.
I'll take it a step farther because you do bring up a very valid point, a lot of arguments that the national fan base is most likely going to have. I think if Ron Rivera nationally, if he wins a playoff game, that's when he wins it. In my opinion,
without a doubt, without
a doubt.
That'll be the cherry on top. Honestly, that'll be the cherry on top.
Give it to him.
Yeah, and Chris Cooley said on Sheehan's pod, this Washington team could very well win a playoff game. The way that they are built, we talked about it all in the offseason, didn't we, Hall? Yep. They are built for the late season. They run the football, they take care of the football, and they play great defense. It's not widely accepted in the NFL nowadays within the era of Pat Mahomes throwing for 50 times a game for 600 yards on whoever he wants to. But this is playoff football. Football does not change. It's still the same sport. As much as the NFL wants to change the rules to go towards passing, defense still wins championships in my opinion. And they could very well win a playoff game. Now, we're getting off track just a little bit. Let's get back into this football game, okay? So, Parker, I'll start with you. Who is going to be your MVP of this game prediction and your score prediction?
Okay, so I see the Washington football team and the San Francisco 49ers, who both have very even kill records at 5-7. I see this being a very hard-fought football game, but I see the Washington football team pulling out at the end. I'm going to go with the same prediction I had on this week's episode of Washington Brawl. I picked the Washington football team 24-11. I think this is going to be a very low-scoring contest in the first half, but I feel like this defense is really going to get in McMillan's face, force some turnovers, and then Washington offense is going to capitalize on them in the red zone and pull ahead really late. I don't think that there's going to be a point where neither team is dominating. I just think that, like you guys said, this Washington football team is built for, the second half of the season. the second half of football games, there isn't a team right now better than the Washington football team.
Mhm.
So I see the Washington football team having a great second half and coming out with the win. As far as MVP of the game, I do see Chase Young having a very big day, but my personal choice for MVP is Cam Sims. I see Cam Sims having another solid day. I think Terry's going to continue to garner a lot of attention from secondaries, and Cam is going to continue to show that he has a place on this roster. You know, he fought, he clawed, and he finally made his way into this tandem. And I don't think he's going to give it up. I don't care if Kelvin Harmon comes back. I don't care if AGG comes back at one point. I think you're not taking this spot from Cam Sims, and he's going to continue to put together a body of work to show you that he deserves to be here.
Yeah, and Coach actually talked about on Friday that AGG looked really smooth and looked really good with the scout team on Thursday's practice or Friday's practice. So we could very well be seeing AGG up soon. And that's a great prediction. Mine is, I said on Thursday, 24-13. And my MVP of the game is going to be Chase Young. I think this is his game to win. The reason why I picked them 24-13, I think at the half, it's going to be 13-10. That San Francisco is going to be leading them. But in the second half, Alex Smith's going to drive down the field, going to get them a touchdown, and then possibly another big defensive play to get them over the top to 24. And we've seen it. I think they've only given up one touchdown in the second half since I think week 6, I think was the stat. I think that continues today. Hall, you've said it so many times. One good half, one bad half, but we've seen with Jack Del Rio, in that second half, his defense literally is strap city. They do not allow anything there. So, Hall, who is your MVP of the game, and what is your score prediction?
I think that Washington is going to it's going to be a hard-fought battle on both sides of the ball, defensive-wise. I think that Washington makes just a couple more plays on defense. Like I said, it's going to be Deron Payne, Jonathan Allen, and Tim Settle is going to be the key to this game. I think that they're going to have to get a pass rush up the middle, get in Nick Mullins' face, disrupt him, get him off his mark, make him have to maybe get outside the pocket, run into Montez Sweat or Chase Young's hands pretty much. But I think that Washington pulls this game out late. I'll go 24-20.
I think that was your prediction.
Yeah, I think it was. And my MVP for the game, I think that Terry McLaurin has a bounce back game. I think that he has at least 5 catches. He's going to go for at least 100 yards and a touchdown. And I think that he's going to get a catch late in the game to seal it off for us.
Yeah, and you had a great stat from the other night. Actually, I think it was from Tay and Todd's podcast. Who posted it on Twitter. If you haven't already, go like their podcast and subscribe. They're very, very good at what they do. On Twitter, they post post-game clips of the game, and they really have some great analysis. But they talked about how with Nick Mullins at the helm, the offense averages 10.6 points per game, not in garbage time.
Yep.
And we've seen with this Washington football team, there really isn't much garbage time when you're facing them. So that's why I'm putting it around 13. I think Kyle Shanahan does get them an extra 3 points, but that's about it for
Another
me.
little small tidbit is that goes to your point where they play one good half and one bad half. If they can get out early and get up on this team, which they haven't done pretty much all season outside of the Dallas Cowboys game, San Francisco is 0-6 this year when down at halftime.
Oh, really?
So if they can get up early, put some points on the board, and then kind of come out in the second half, play that stellar defense that they've been playing all year, it'll be the first complete game they played all year since that Dallas game. And
I want to paint a picture for you as well. We talked about how their offense is very much so a gimmick. You got Deebo Samuel on those end arounds. One thing that this Washington football team can do with Cam Curl is come up and hit you in the mouth behind the line of scrimmage. Yeah. If that is their game plan, it's going to be a long day.
Yeah,
it's going to be a long day.
Yeah, absolutely. You are absolutely right about that, Parker, without a doubt. Now, will this be the first game that they score on their first possession of the game?
Well, that's a good money line right there.
That's a good money line. Good prop bet.
They're going to be targeting Jordan Reed a lot, and I feel like that could end up leading to a scoring drive eventually. But I'm going to say sure that this will be the first game they do it.
And what about you, Hall?
Are we talking about San Francisco or Washington?
Washington, because Washington has yet to score on their opening drive.
Oh, Washington. Jesus, my bad.
No, you're good.
I think that – now, like I said, I think it's going to be a defensive battle. Obviously, like without Antonio Gibson in there to kind of be that bell cow running back, kind of set up everything on the outside for us and the inside. I think that's going to be a defensive struggle. They got this linebacking core led by Fred Warner, who's one of the top linebackers in the league.
Stud.
So I think that it's
second
gonna be
second rated by Pro Football Focus in the NFL.
He is a baller. But I think it's gonna be a defensive battle early on. They're gonna be trying to feel each other out. So I definitely think that they'll score on the first possession of the second half, just not the first half.
Yeah, I think one of the most intriguing aspects and most competitive aspects about this game is the fullback Kyle Juszczyk. Kyle Shanahan loves to use him in short yardage situations, and we have seen this year the Washington football team is incredibly stingy with 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s, 4th and 1s, and 4th and 2s. That is going to be a matchup I'm really excited to see. Can the defense continue their success in short yardage situations? We saw against the Pittsburgh Steelers that was one of the biggest aspects and one of the biggest reasons why they ended up winning that football game was the 2 4th down stands. The first one in the first drive, the second late in that game that cost the Steelers some points. All right,
Another guy to look to have a great game today, a little bounce back game is Kendall Fuller. I know that these past couple games he's kind of been getting picked on, especially that Pittsburgh game. It's kind of seemed like every kind of I wouldn't say big play, but every kind of momentum swinging play that Pittsburgh had was getting thrown on Kendall Fuller. It kind of seemed like they were targeting Kendall Fuller in that game. So I want him to have a bounce back game, kind of wipe the slate clean and come out and play like he was in the first half of the season.
Yeah, and then Sergio Martin just tweeted at me. He said, the last 4 games for Washington football, and today's match is the biggest, as we'll set the tone for the next 3 games. Very similar teams. He's absolutely right about that, except for the unexpected great offense of Washington. Hoping we could play for all 4 quarters and put some pressure on Nick Mullins. Absolutely, brother. Let's do it. Let's go win this football game today, everybody. And like the Washington football team put out today, why not?
Why
not us?
Exactly.
Why not us? Absolutely. He who believes he can and he who believes he can't are both usually right. Mm-hmm. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the Burgundy Zone. Remember, we will not be having an episode until Tuesday. Our episode will actually be uploaded tomorrow because it's my wedding anniversary on Tuesday. My wife would kill me if we recorded on that day. So we're doing it on Monday, and we're going to have a great episode for you, and hopefully we'll be talking about a win. Parker of Washington Brawl, if you haven't already, go like and subscribe to Parker's podcast. It's very, very well done. He puts a lot of time and effort into it, so make sure you go and check him out, all right? Parker, I can't thank you enough for coming on short notice,
Always
brother.
A pleasure, man. Always a pleasure.
Thanks, man. Appreciate all the kind words. You guys are absolutely killing it over here at the Burgundy Zone. Great episode with Maddie. Keep doing what you guys are doing. Anytime you guys need me, I'm always here. You know that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Parker.
Likewise,
can't thank you enough.
likewise.
Washington fan base is the best fan base in all of sports. I don't care what anyone says. All right, everybody. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
And we'll see you guys tomorrow. Washington
Yes,
football.
sir.
Woo!
Let's get a dub, baby. Woo.
Washington football. Woo!